One of the most important Android updates ever is here, which is Material 3 Expressive, and today I'm going to compare it to the latest version of iOS 18 and OneUI 7. Starting with the home screen, in Apple, you can go left and right to navigate through the applications. Also, if you go to the left, you'll reach a specific page that is home to your widgets, and I often use it to track my syncing portfolio. It is similar on Google Pixel. By swiping left and right, you can navigate through different pages, and if you swipe all the way to the last page on the left, you'll land on the Google page, which usually has some news for you. It is almost identical in Samsung One UI 7, left and right to navigate, and the leftmost page is the Google tab. On iOS 18, you can finally move the icons freely and leave them wherever you want. Not long ago, you couldn't do that, and all icons had to be exactly next to each other. In Android 16, like all previous versions of Android, including Android 1, you can move the icons around. The change this time is that you can get very subtle haptic feedback when you do it on Android 16, which is all part of this new expressive design. On One UI 7, you can do the same and move the icons freely, but you don't get any haptic feedback. What you do get is a nice dotted grid, which I adore since it makes things more precise for dropping. There is something that iOS and One UI 7 offer that unfortunately Android 16 still lacks. On iOS, you can hold the home screen, click Edit, and reorder the pages. In One UI 7, you can hold the page, and when you go into Edit mode, you can also reshuffle the order of the pages. Check Android 16, and we still don't have this feature, unfortunately. In all three phones, you can add widgets, of course, and this is something I've loved about Android phones over the years, and iPhone finally added it too. Interestingly, the design of iOS widgets is now being copied by tons of other Android phones, including One UI 7. It is nothing negative, as iOS copied the whole concept to begin with, and that's just normal. The look and feel of iOS widgets are very similar to One UI, but Google Pixel is doing its own style with different shapes of widgets. One thing that is a bit annoying on Google Pixel, still on Android 16, is that you can't stack the widgets. This is something you can do both on iOS and also on One UI 7. Stacking widgets is one of my favorite features since I usually only use the main page and I don't want to swipe to a second page, but at the same time, I don't want my main screen to be swarmed by widgets. This, together with the fact that on Android 16 you can't remove the top quick information bar, makes the space on the home screen on Google Pixel feel tight, even though they added more space between the bars and the icons. When it comes to customization, Android phones have historically given you more options, but Apple is also doing better than before. For the most basic case of customization, you can of course change your wallpaper, which, if you are old enough, you'd know you couldn't do on the first iteration of iOS. On iOS 18, you can add effects to your wallpaper, like the color tone. You can also give it a depth effect, and what that does is make the text, like the date on the clock, go under the main subject on your wallpaper. The Google Pixel now also has the photo ambient feature that was already on the One UI 6. You can simply add weather effect to your wallpaper, and that can be based on your location and the real weather. Or you can add an effect permanently. What's super cool about it is that the weather particles also interact with the wallpaper. For example, if it is raining, the building will show raindrops hitting it, or if you add a snowing effect, the building will show sign of snow on it. You have a similar feature on One UI 7 too, but as far as I know, you can only have it to reflect the real weather outside. You can't select a custom one. Now let's play some music and see how things change. After starting the music on iOS, you'll see the dynamic island being filled with music you are playing. On Android 16, you don't see anything, but on One UI 7, you do see a small bar on the top left side that indicates you are playing some sort of music. On iOS, you can click on the dynamic island and it will open the music app. This is a feature a lot of Android phones are copying, for example Oppo, and I think we'll see it more and more. On iOS and One UI 7, you can then swipe down from the left side to the notification. Android 16, you can swipe from the left or right and you'll go to the notification center. On iOS, when you start and stop the music, you see a bit of animation to indicate the interaction. On the Pixel, you see more of a ripple effect throughout the whole music area. And on One UI 7, you also see a small animation, but the start and stop buttons are tiny, so you won't see much. On iOS, you can swipe the notification to the left or right. If you swipe all the way to the left, you can clear the notification, and you also get a small haptic feedback when you do so. On the new Android 16 Material 3 Expressive, you also get haptic feedback when you swipe the notification to the left or right. And it is a nice little thing that makes your phone feel more alive. The interaction is similar on One UI 7, but the difference is that you don't get any haptic feedback, which you'll probably see change with launch of One UI 8 later this year. One feature that I really like on Android 16 is the notification history. You have probably at some point mistakenly removed a notification and forgot what app it was from or where you got it. Now, you can go through the whole history and find the notification you are looking for there. For accessing the quick setting on iOS and One UI, you have to swipe from the top left corner, while on the Pixel, you have to swipe twice from the top, either the right or the left. The look and feel of them are different, with iOS and One UI being a bit more similar, with a very transparent background and also the shape of the icons. The Pixel is now also transparent, similar to iOS, but the transparency is less, and the colors are more solid. Also, the icons look different. They have also added a new functionality where you sometimes have a button inside an area that can make things potentially more accessible. For example, if you want to switch off Bluetooth, you can click on the inside button, but you can then click on the area to find devices. Or in the mods, you can touch once to activate Do Not Disturb mode, but then you can click on the area to access other mods. You can use the time that you save by these actions to subscribe to Tecmo. Seriously, just do it. I need more subscribers. Thanks. The volume rockers are weak points on iOS, where you only have a global sound option. On Android 16, the volume quick access now looks a bit different, but you still have the old functionalities, which is changing the sound based on the type. For example, you can change the volume of media, calls, ring, notification, and alarm separately. The same goes for One UI 7. On both Android 16 and One UI, when you click the volume rockers, it gives you the option to change the sound that is playing now. For example, if you are playing music, it will change the media volume, but if you are in the call, it will change the call volume. This feature is one of the main reasons I still stick with Android phones. All three phones have AI Assist. On iOS, it is Apple Intelligence, which is also connected to ChatGPT. On iOS and One UI, it is Gemini. You can hold the power button on all of them to ask questions. You can ask simple questions like, what's the weather right now? Or you can ask more complex questions that requires digging into your calendar, for example. Another AI feature on Android phones is Circle to Search, which I use often. For example, I took the picture on the background in Vienna, but I don't know the name of the buildings. I can simply use Circle to Search to find out. In general, One UI, in my opinion, gives the best AI experience, and I'm using all three operating systems regularly. I use, for example, the text extraction feature daily on One UI to simply select text in different apps to summarize it or translate it. iOS also has a similar feature, but you have to select the text first, and in some apps, it is simply not possible. The animations of opening and minimizing the applications are a bit different on each of them, but overall, they are very similar to each other. The gestures are also similar overall. For example, you can swipe up to access recent apps. On One UI 7, the apps are stacked on top of each other. On Android 16 Pixel, the apps are next to each other. iOS is similar to One UI, or it is better to say, One UI 7 is now similar to iOS 18, where the apps are stacked on top of each other. What is unique to Android phones is the ability to have a split screen. On One UI 7, you simply hold the icon of one of the apps and drag it to the top, while selecting another app to the bottom half of the screen. I find this extremely useful when I need to write something down while browsing, or for example, copy from one app to another. On Android Pixel 16, it is slightly different. You have to click on the icon instead of holding it to split the screen, but the functionality hasn't changed that much. Also, I find the animations on One UI better when you are trying to change the aspect ratio of each window. It has more taste to it, with a blur effect on the app instead of showing a black or white screen like on Pixel Android 16. All phones have a simple back gesture. For example, if you are browsing Chrome, you can swipe from the left side to the previous tab. On Android, it works on both the left and right sides, but on iOS, you can only do it from the left side. What is super confusing for me in iOS is that in not all apps this gesture works. It means when you are in YouTube and playing a long video, you can't simply go back. You have to swipe it down instead. It also works differently on shorts. And to this day, I don't know how to go back when watching a short. I simply change the tab instead. This creates a bit of inconsistency, and after using iOS for a decade, I still stumble from time to time and do the wrong gesture. All three operating systems also have their own apps that comes pre-installed, like the default weather app. Each of them has its own unique feel. I personally like how cute the OneUI 7 app is, while iOS and Android are a bit too serious for me. The other app that you will use a lot is the camera app. The camera app on iOS and Pixel is a bit bare bones. You get some options, but overall, it is rather limited and designed for point and shoot only. On iOS Pro models, you get at least some more advanced features like log shooting, and on Pixel Pro versions, you get 8K cloud upscaling for video. But Galaxy is where the real deal is. You get tons of exciting options. You get Expert RAW, which also shows you the sky and where the stars are. Or you can get log shooting with interesting features like false colors and zebras. Some of these features aren't even available on some consumer dedicated cameras. Android 16 also changed the look and feel of the Settings app, and as much as I hate to admit it, it now looks more like iOS. They added colorful icons on the left side. You may ask yourself why more and more operating systems start to look like iOS, and I can answer that. I actually did my PhD in relation to AI and UX design, and I teach UX at university. I also have a lot of friends working at Google who use iPhones, and I can tell you UX designers are humans at the end of the day, and they get inspired or persuaded by designs they see. Since almost all designers work exclusively with Apple products, iOS and macOS, it is only human to be affected by those designs and later translate them into your own product. Some companies blandly copy-paste designs from Apple, but for Google, my guess is that individual designers are being indoctrinated by Apple design without even noticing. But again, a lot of core functionalities of iOS were copied from Android, like moving icons. And it is just part of the game. I still find Android more user-friendly and packed with more features, but I do admit iOS looks more beautiful. If you enjoyed this video and you want to hear me rant about iOS for 10 minutes straight, you can watch this video next. Thanks for tuning into TechMo, and I will see you in the next one.